What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the YouTube channel. We are back, me and Anthony, for a this or that series, and we're gonna be talking about a couple of running backs who are highly touted in the 23 class. And I know Anthony loves his running backs. He's a running back guy. He's got a couple videos on here, and I feel like is running back your favorite position?
Yeah, I feel like I'm like a throwback, in the fade running back generation that we live in now. I don't know, man. Something about running backs in fantasy football. Running back is definitely, especially with like the college game, I think running back is probably my favorite position, like to watch or scout or analyze, whatever you want to say, leading up to the draft. I love watching the running backs, man. And this year's great for it. 2023 is great for it.
That's because we watched Reggie Bush for all those years, and now we're trying to find that next Reggie.
I just had to explain to somebody at work, younger than you or I, that had never watched the USC Texas Rose Bowl.
Oh no!
First of all, go back and watch that game and realize the cheat code that was Reggie Bush.
Go watch, yes, and Lindell White. Don't forget about
Lindell White too. Yeah, give that man his credit. Yeah,
he was a stud. Couldn't get that first down though. He choked. No. All right, let's dive. So we're going to talk about Zach Evans and Jahmyr Gibbs. I think this is an interesting talk because both of these guys, Gibbs is probably a little bit more production, and we'll talk about. Evans definitely is potential, right? We're going to be talking about that as well. And when you look at their ADP, Jahmyr Gibbs going running back 3. So you're going right behind Bijan and Travion. Zach Evans going right behind him. I've seen Evans and Gibbs switch. Like it's not uncommon for them to go running back 3 and running back 4 on the other side. So they're right next to each other. And I think it's a good time to talk about their upside and their production and what we've seen. What we saw last year from both these guys, obviously Gibbs played at Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech is an awful program, but he was able to kind of produce there. He had 746 yards rushing, 465 receiving yards. He is a dual threat guy. He's going to be able to pass. He's probably the best pass catching back in this class. Freshman year, he did really well, kickoff return, all of those things. Evans, on the other hand, his freshman year, he dealt with COVID early on in that year, so he missed some games. He came out, did have 54 attempts, 415 yards, did show some explosiveness towards the end of the year. Then last year, he looked good in 92 attempts, 648 yards, 5 touchdowns. Then his coach got fired, Gary Patterson, and he quit, and he left the team, and then he transferred to Ole Miss. So both these guys are kind of similar. Evans is going to be a little bigger, but in terms of like to go into a new team, they transferred. What are they going to be? Where's their production at? General thoughts on these guys. You're the running back guru. So, just general, like, is it weird that they both transfer now? And Evans has probably had the most dramatic kind of like his recruiting was a pain in the ass.
Everything about him.
Everything about him. I mean, Gibbs too. I mean, Gibbs, really, he was a big first guy, really transfer portal, right? First, like big time guy. He left Georgia Tech after not being able to produce very well. I mean, he produced, but they were a bad team. So it's kind of interesting, both these guys.
It doesn't really shock me to see Gibbs transfer out of Georgia Tech because I think we'll see some other guys, over the years kind of go this route where it's like, we see the potential. Okay, hey, I'm about to be draft eligible. I'm going to transfer to a program where I'm really going to showcase these talents and go off. Because like Jahmyr Gibbs has a pretty special skill set. I think that's tailor-made for the NFL in 2023 and beyond. I feel like every year we talk about the projection as pass catchers that we have to make for these running backs, like for Kenneth Walker III and for all these guys that aren't asked to do it a lot in college. Like we know Jahmyr Gibbs can catch passes. We know he can be a special receiving talent, and that's super desirable. Zach Evans has like the strangest just journey in general. I feel like for totally different reasons. It's also not surprising to me that Zach Evans transfers because I'd almost expect nothing less with all the craziness, a former top recruit and the whole crazy recruiting journey that led to him somehow ending up at TCU. But potential is through the roof. Super athletic, could really, really shine at Ole Miss, but definitely I think a bigger projection than what we've seen so far from Jahmyr Gibbs.
Oh yeah, there's a little bit of risk there all the way around. Like just everything that we've seen from him, just Evans' decision making. We'll say there. I mean, he could be at Georgia right now, and he could be the lead guy at Georgia. Kendall Milton could just not be there, and he'd be like, "Hey, this is where we're at. This is how different both of these guys are." So we're gonna watch a little bit of tape. We're gonna watch Gibbs first. Look what he can do, and as he alluded, pass catching is going to be the key for this in terms of fantasy. We're projecting the fantasy, but Evans is an underrated pass catcher as well. So let's take a look. So Gibbs, overall, you kind of talked about it a little bit. What do you think of him as a runner before we go on the pass catching?
So I think he's got good patience, good vision, but sometimes I think he tries to overdo it a little bit behind the line, where you want to see him be a little bit more decisive off the bat. And I think maybe that could be the case, behind an Alabama offensive line. I think this definitely could be the year that we see the best pure rushing totals out of him. I mean, it'll be the best situation he's been in, bar none, with the best complement of weapons and quarterback around him. Life should be easier for Jahmyr Gibbs than it's been in the past 2 seasons for sure. But yeah, he's good as an inside and outside runner. He's got good speed. He's doesn't leave a lot to be desired, honestly. I would like to see him be a little bit more decisive at times, but what he lacks maybe right there in quick decision making behind the line of scrimmage, or trying to dance too much behind the line of scrimmage, I think he absolutely makes up for with top tier pass catching ability. He's special in that regard. I hate to throw around like big comps, but real Alvin Kamara vibes for Jahmyr Gibbs as a pass catcher, for sure. I think you could see that kind of role for him pretty easily at the next level.
I think the question remains, because we project these guys and we think that they're like Gainwell, right? I don't want to compare him to Gainwell, but I like Gainwell. I thought Gainwell was really good. And then, with Gibbs being 200 pounds, does that worry you at all? Because that's listed 200. And when we look at under 200, we know what the NFL thinks of these guys. I mean, he could be the outlier though, right? Because he's probably 40 times 4.5, 4.45, somewhere in there, not 4.5, 4.45 in there.
Yeah, I bet he's like mid 4.4s. I think we'll be betting on an outlier if he's sub 200 or at 200, and that's scary. Like the list of, backs that are 205 or lighter over the last 10 years or so. It's not a great track record.
No,
it's really
you don't
not.
Want to be
you have some outliers in there, but they're outliers. So I hope this is, and again, not comping the player, but this was the same kind of thought process and cause for concern I had, and a lot of people had with Kyren Williams last year. It's oh, Kyren Williams looks great on tape. He pass protects for a smaller back. He runs tough inside. He can catch some passes, but he tested poorly and he's small. And then the NFL told you what they thought. I think that Gibbs is special enough as a receiver that even if he weighs in 200 or somewhere, 5 pounds north or south of there, somebody's going to take a fairly early swing on him. I don't know that he'll be a first round runner, but I think he easily goes early day 2 in the 2023 class.
I like that you brought up Kyren, because we were really off on Kyren last year. The whole Devy team, we said, hey, that's a risky bet. I think Gibbs is much more athletic. So when I'm watching him on tape, I'm like, oh, okay. I'm less concerned about Gibbs. I mean, I'm concerned about Gibbs' size, because I know what sub 200 running backs look like in the NFL. But when you watch him, you can see that athleticism kind of pop off film, and you're like, okay, I'm less concerned about that. But if it's under 200 and he runs like a 4.45, then I'm going to be a little bit more. We could see that NFL capital go down a little bit. And I think that is the question. Both these guys have question marks. I think Evans, as we watch tape here, his question marks aren't on the field; it's off the field. So it's really what are you going to do here? Because I think Gibbs is going to have a great year. He's going to have production. Evans as a runner, I mean, the only thing that I wrote down in my notes as I filmed him, I've watched him basically for 2 years, I think he can be indecisive at the line of scrimmage. So one thing that watched him, I think he struggles with vision sometimes because he's looking for that big pop off there. But when he just puts his head down and run, as you see on the film, when he's a hell of a north-south runner. And he has athleticism and speed and break it off. I think he has good foot quickness too when you watch him. And I think that you'll see it here is the ability to cut at the line of scrimmage, those type of things. The only knock I have on him is off the field and vision. I think he's a good pass catcher enough. He can do enough as pass catching. He's not going to be Gibbs' level of pass catching, but I think that he has more of a route tree than just a swing pass guy. Am I wrong about that, or what do you like about him? Because he's more of an inside runner. He's going to be able to carry a load in the NFL if I had to pick.
Yeah, agreed. And he's got the frame to hold up for that, I think. It's really nothing with the tape. Like you said, he's not the pass catcher that Gibbs is, but I don't really know that anybody in this class is outside of how unique a weapon Bijan is, but that's a different topic altogether. That's a different tier. But it's nothing with the tape. Everything on the tape shows you why this guy was a top recruit, why he was so sought after as a running back. He looks great. He's dynamic. He's a powerful inside runner, and he's got long speed to go with it. If you hit those bullet points, there's not a lot to not like, but there's enough like questionable things that have happened to this point in his journey that, like, if we're having questions about it, NFL teams are going to have questions about it. There's just too many things that have piled up. I hope that he gets all the work at Ole Miss and he can really show out with all the athletic ability and talent that we know that he has. I would love to see that, like, full, like, realized potential this season. And I do think if there's an offense that can showcase it, there's a chance it could be that offense at Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin's a madman, and it could be a fun time.
I mean, he's the guy there. I think both of these guys are the guy there. I think that's the way you look at it. They're both going to produce. You know, at Ole Miss, I think they have Kendra Bullock, and then they have Ulysses Bentley, but Ulysses Bentley is Ulysses Bentley. He's not Zach Evans. Like there's a difference there. And like you said, I love the offense that both these guys are going to be in. I think they're going to feature in there. Saban better not use Gibbs in kickoff return and punt return and get him hurt. I'm going to be pissed. I will fly to Tuscaloosa and go whoop his old ass, because if he gets him hurt, like he hurts all his guys in those areas, like that's going to be my concern there. But I love Evans. I know I've been on board there. Even Matt Waldman, you know, from obviously the Waldman Report and all this stuff, football guys, he said that he could be a better pure runner than Bijan when he watches his tape. That's a great, you know, comp for him. And also, like, that should open people's eyes to, like, wow, if he can be a better pure runner, just a fluid runner, now we're talking about a special talent in the second round.
Yeah, absolutely. About Gibbs, before we, you know, wrap this up and make a pick, do you think Alabama will treat Gibbs like a true, like, 3-down runner? Like, will he get all the rushing work there? Or do you think they'll highlight him more as a receiver? And, like, he'll get the rushing work. I guess the boiler, like, bullet point question is, does he eclipse 1,000 yards on the ground?
I think yes. I think he's going to be like last year, what we saw with Brian Robinson, because when you look at like that, what they have in that depth chart, Jace McClown, I don't think Jace McClown's that good. I think he's okay. Like, I think he's a bruiser guy that they can use in the red zone. Yeah. But I think Gibbs is going to get a hell of a workload. And I think Saban showed last year, he's not afraid to, like, look what he did with Najee. Didn't Najee have, like, I mean, I know Najee's bigger. Like, he rode that dude into 300 carries. I don't think we're going to see that as much for Gibbs, but touches wise, it would not shock me to see him get 20, 25 touches a game. And I think he could get in that 1,000 yards, but so could Evans, right? I think Evans could get there too.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree. It's a fun group of guys for sure in 2023.
These guys are fun. All right, let's pick, because I think this is going to be interesting. I think we're going to be different here. Where are you going with this?
I'm going to go. Oh, man, I'm tempted. They're going like back to back, right? Running back 3, running back 4.
So, yeah, you're looking at basically 3 and 4, give or take, depending. But they're getting flip-flops. So, basically, it's a pick 'em.
All right, I'm going to take Jahmyr Gibbs for the fact that I know he's a proven pass catcher. And I think at worst, he's going to be able to supplement his value with that in the NFL. And I don't like, maybe we bet on outlier size, but I think even if we do, he won't be a very poor tester athletically the way Kyron Williams was a year ago. So I'll go Gibbs.
Okay. I don't see Kyron, like, and I'm picking Evans, but I'm picking Evans because I'm so high on Evans that I feel like he could be that next, like, 3-down back runner, where Gibbs, I'm concerned about that. Can he lead an offense in the NFL? I think he could be Kamara. Like, I think he could be that guy pass catching. I love his pass catching. So we're picking hairs here, but I'm gonna go Evans because I think he could be that 3-down guy. And if he lives up to his potential, now it's risk though. He might not live up to his potential. Him and Lane might punch each other on the sidelines. I don't know what's going to happen.
Very possible.
I don't know what's going to happen on that sidelines. I don't know what's going to happen at Ole Miss. But if he lives up to his potential, I think he could challenge Bijan. I think as a runner, there's a reason why he was the number 1 rated running back in this class. Like, he has that potential and that ceiling. And I think as a runner, I feel like he could be that next pure runner that we're talking about as like a team falling in love with, like Javonte Williams, that type of, like, hey, wow, this guy vaulted up, man, this guy could be the guy. He gets drafted, him and Bijan, and they're there. And I think he could be the running back 2 of the class.
It's fair. It's totally fair. If he stays committed and no crazy stuff happens, it's definitely possible. He's got all the talent in the world.
See, Anthony wants to call me an idiot because he knows it's a risky pick, but he won't.
Hey, you gotta take risks sometimes.
You gotta take risks. We're all about risk here, so we appreciate it. Let us know in the comments, who do you got? You got Gibbs or Evans? I think this is an interesting area. And then also, do you think Gibbs? Do you think he can hit that 1,000-yard mark? What do you guys think on the rushing area? Do you think he can get it? Because I think he needs to. I think he needs to show that he can get 1,000 yards and get like 400 or 500 yards receiving, and show that you can be a runner. So let us know in the comments. Hit that like and subscribe button. Until next time. time. Check you guys later.